welcome everyone. Welcome to today's Rooted in Resilience Green Infrastructure Workshop. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dany Garcia Moreno. As you know, this is a monthly series where A2 members come together to learn about various topics in green infrastructure. Today we're going to be talking about community engagement and how to do community engagement in the design and site selection process for green infrastructure projects with our very special guest speaker, Hannah. But before I hand it over to her, we'll just do a little bit of, housekeeping and kind of doing all the regular stuff we typically do. So to give you an overview of where we've been and where we're going after today. So last session was about co-benefits in green infrastructure, where myself and Karis, who's also here on the call with us, talked about, just the co-benefits of green infrastructure. If you missed that session, you can find it on the YouTube. We'll also be posting this session on the YouTube account. So for whatever reason, you want to revisit it, if you can't get enough of green infrastructure, it'll be there. And next session, we'll have a panel discussion about funding and financing with municipal government representatives. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more information coming soon, and hopefully the registration link will go live very soon as well. So you get an idea. We are trying to be on a regular cadence of meeting on the last Thursday of every month. So just have that tentatively set out on your calendars. The times will be a little flexible just to accommodate our speakers, but last Thursday of every month is what we're aiming for. So some Zoom housekeeping. Please turn your camera on if you feel comfortable. We'd love to see your lovely faces and make this more of a conversation between all of us. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. You can drop your name, organization, where you're calling from today. And as far as the presentation goes, you can raise your hand or raise your hand using the chat function or physically on the screen, or drop any questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat for questions throughout, so this will really be very engaged, a conversational session. So with all of that, I will turn it over to, first I'll introduce Hannah and then turn it over. So our guest presenter today is Hannah Mico. Hannah joined the River Network team in February 2020 and has been working to support organizations on equitable climate resilience and building community leaders. Based in the heart of the Great Lakes, Hannah has spent her entire career working in water, from small volunteer-run nonprofit organizations, municipal utilities, statewide policy work, and now national experience at the River Network. She brings a variety of expertise in engagement, education, and environmental focus areas. So welcome, Hannah. Take it away.
Thanks, Dany. And thank you all for having me today. It was lovely to be invited to present today. As Dany said, I'm positioned in the Great Lakes region. So I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is the southwest side of the mitten. And very excited to be joining you all. I know that you're dispersed around the country, so thanks for having me. I'm going to share my screen, and I've got a bit of a presentation set up with a couple different places where we can stop and get some input from you all as well. But I'm going to be talking about a body of work that River Network started actually when I joined staff in 2020. So it's a program that's been going on for about 4 years, focused on community-led research. So I'm going to get my presentation queued up here for you all. And I'll talk a bit and then we'll pause and we will talk a bit as well. There we go. So when we were approached to do some training with you all today about doing site selection for green stormwater infrastructure, the first thing that came to mind for me at River Network was to talk about community-led research, which is a process that we've been using to support communities for the last 4 years, looking at climate resilience specifically. And the kind of slogan for this work that we use is called "Nothing About Us Without Us." So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'll make sure that I tie it back in pretty intentionally a couple of times so it really makes sense about site selection. I've got some case studies I want to share with you very briefly at the end, but really I'd like to learn about, how you all might see this working for your communities as well.
In case you're not familiar with River Network, we are a national network that grows and strengthens a network of water justice and river advocates. Historically, River Network was kind of a stereotypical environmental organization. We worked with watershed groups. Oh, I'm sorry. Did someone have a question? Oh, all set. Okay. But now we work with a lot of groups that do intersectional work in the water space. So our membership and our reach has grown quite a bit in the last many years. And if you're interested in learning more about us, we have free membership options. We also have sliding scale memberships for folks who are interested in other services. But anyone is welcome to join River Network and access a lot of our free training, our free resource libraries, and re-grant and technical assistance opportunities. So just another tool in your toolbox, perhaps, to bookmark our page and see what we have going on. Our focus areas include healthy, resilient rivers, safe, affordable drinking water, and climate resilient communities. We know, and you all probably know, that those are very interrelated issues. So our team tries to work really collaboratively across those to provide services that are really direct and targeted to communities who need them, but also, provide some wraparound services so that all of our communities can achieve these three focus areas for themselves. We all on this call, I'm assuming, are very grounded in the impacts of climate change. We're seeing it happen in our communities, and it is so well evidenced across the country. We're seeing natural disasters, flood events, droughts, extreme heat make the news frequently, and we're more and more often seeing folks admit that this is happening because of climate change and increased volatility in our weather. One of the things we're seeing happen is, of course, the inequitable impacts of climate change, that oftentimes these impacts are hitting communities that don't have the resources to recover for them as efficiently or as effectively as others, or they're hitting communities that have simply already been left behind. So River Network obviously took note of this alongside the entire rest of the environmental community a while back, and we started discussing ways to advance climate resilience in ways that are equitable. And specifically looking at equity as a component of this because of the disparities that we know are happening. With all of that being said, in 2020, we researched and published 2 companion toolkits that really focused on climate resilience. So the first one is called Fostering Community Leadership. I was actually the lead author on that toolkit. We talked to about 30 organizations around the country who were working with community members and building their capacity, their confidence, their skill sets to be advocates in their own right, and to advocate for climate resilience measures in their communities that felt meaningful and impactful and locally relevant. The second toolkit is the one I'm going to talk more about today, which is Fostering Community-Led Research and Knowledge. And once again, that toolkit was published with an advisory group of organizations who were already doing that work in their communities. We listened to them, learned from them, compiled what they wanted to share alongside other research from academic institutions and other parties, and created a toolkit to really center community experience in decision-making, which is the crux of community-led research. So those are 2 companion pieces that go side by side. Towards the end of the conversation today, I'll make sure to share the links to these toolkits so that you can actually access them yourself if you're interested. And I'll talk about how River Network's been utilizing them in the last 4 years. I wanted to just get us warmed up a little bit, get us thinking, moving. I know for me, it's just a couple hours after lunch, so I'm hitting my afternoon lull. There is a tool that I love to use for virtual facilitation called Mentimeter. And that's a tool where it essentially allows for some more robust audience engagement during a webinar or training like this. So there's a couple different ways you can access it. You can scan the QR code on the screen. You can go to menti.com and enter the 8-digit code, or Dany's going to drop a link in the chat and you can click on that link and go there. So whichever version of that you want to use, I'm going to wait just a couple of seconds because I'm going to have to take my slide down and switch over. But you can go to menti.com and use that 8-digit code. You can scan the QR code, or you can click on the link that Dany put in the chat. I'm going to put the code in the chat too. I should have thought about that. And there will be a question on that screen when you get there. Oops, we don't want this one yet.
I want to go backwards a slide. There we go. There's going to be a link, and you should have a question up on your screen that says, when I say community-led research, what comes to mind? And that's going to be a word cloud, so you can type as many words as you'd like and hit enter. And as y'all submit those words, they will populate here on the screen now. We'll be able to see a beautiful little word cloud generate. So single word responses are best for a word cloud, but just when I say community-led research, which is, you know, maybe a bit more of an academic phrase, what comes to mind for you all? There we go. Got some answers coming in: collaboration, value, listening, important, centered, grassroots, input, science, inclusion, love to see it. And if you're having access issues with the Mentimeter, you can also put things in the chat. I saw Gloria just put in target audience. Thank you. See, on the ground, grassroots is a little bit bigger. That means a couple of y'all put that in the word cloud. Nice. Thank you for contributing. So these are all great to see. This tells me that you all might know a little bit about community research or community-led research already. I've given this presentation and talked about this work with lots of different audiences, and you'd be surprised how many folks interpret this very differently. Cool. Thank you for contributing. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my presentation deck. Here we go. Got to move you all around the screen so I can click. So River Network came up with a definition of community-led research that felt really adequate for the work that we saw ourselves wanting to do. And this definition was co-created with our advisory group that helped inform the toolkit as well. So I'll read the definition for anyone who can't see the slide. Community-led research is a process through which community members come together to gather and synthesize their collective wisdom and knowledge in order to more fully understand how a problem or a set of problems impact their community, to identify solutions that will work best for their community, and to build a case for support. So there's a couple pieces to that definition, right? We're talking about people coming together collectively, honoring the wisdom and knowledge that's in their community already. We're trying to define and understand problems, identify solutions and ways to understand those problems, and building a case for support so that those solutions can actually come to fruition. So for us, all of those components together create what we call community-led research. I'll pause for just a second. Does anyone else have maybe something that they would contribute to this definition outside of what's on the screen or what I just named? And you can put it in the chat or you can come off mute. Go ahead, Gloria.
I've been doing social justice issues since 1992. And I find the biggest thing is it's just like doing a documentary, which I also do. Let the people closest to the story tell the story.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Gloria. Anyone else want to chime in with something else they would add to this definition?
Real people.
Real people. What do you mean by real people, Susan?
I don't mean not the people that have gone to school to learn all the research and we're just hearing from them, but residents, the people that it's happening to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Real people that have been affected directly by what's going on.
Yeah. Sounds like y'all could give this training for me. Oh, go ahead, Ramona. Sorry, didn't mean to move on.
Hi, everyone. It says that a process through which community members come together to gather and synthesize their collective wisdom and knowledge in order to more fully understand how a problem or set of problems impact their community.
Mm-hmm.
I think that often we need to understand the root causes of those problems and address those root causes so that we can get to authentic problem solving. Right? So I would like to see more focused on the root causes of the problem, although people in the community usually know what the problem is. They may not necessarily, like for instance, when we started our work up in Duck Hill community, small little town, rural town, and it flooded profusely, right? Well, the people knew that they had a problem of flooding, but what they did not know was that that problem was getting worse as the result of climate change.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes identifying what the root cause of the problems are will help us to better understand the impact, why we're being impacted, right? And then look at identifying solutions.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. A couple of the case studies that I have at the end of the presentation, we'll talk on that, getting more down to the root cause of the problems and making sure that they are addressed. I see you've got 2 more hands raised. I see Muriel has their hand raised.
Yeah, I would add that um, the conversations also have to be equitable and non-threatening, so that basic rules need to be set up before discussions get heated or get diverted into something else.
Yeah.
And I think the group needs to talk about those things, how they're going to talk to each other, you know, respectfully. All of those kinds of things have to be laid down first before these discussions can start, or sometimes they can go off the rail.
Absolutely. I love that you bring that up, creating some baseline understanding of how we treat each other, how we talk to each other, and what our shared goals and values are.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. Thanks y'all for contributing. I really appreciate that. So, oops, my slides are just so ready. So y'all seem to have a really good grasp on this concept already, but I wanted to make sure that we, once again, had a shared understanding of these things as we talk through our training today. So we have obviously, a lot of folks, a lot of organizations, and a lot of agencies pushing for community engagement right now. Even on our federal grant processes, we're seeing that they are requiring community engagement plans or community action plans as part of the federal grant process. But one of the things I don't think we're asking ourselves all of the time is, who is the community? And someone talked about target audience earlier, mentioned that phrase, which I love because it's a core component here. But one thing that I like to think about is, who's the impacted community versus who's the incorporated community, right? So impacted community members are those who are affected by decisions that you've made. I just say you as the royal you, not you specifically. What direct or indirect effects are being absorbed by those community members? What intentional or unintentional effects will occur regardless of whether or not they've been included, right? So impacted folks are experiencing the results of decisions without necessarily being involved. The incorporated community, or included, is who's actually involved in decision making. They know the direct and indirect effects of that work. They are helping to address the impacts of that work. And the community engagement component is what bridges those two groups, right? Of who's impacted versus who's incorporated. And ideally, we're going to see a lot of overlap in those groups when we do it right. But this is something that I think we're still learning a lot about, in especially grant making and applying large funding packages across communities when they do come into play. So I just wanted to mention this and get out in front of it, that when we talk about community, we need to be specific. We need to make sure that, are we talking about the impacted community, or are we talking about the community that's really incorporated in decision making, and how close can we get those together? This might be a scale that you've seen before, or maybe not. So this is a kind of a scale of community engagement that talks about increasing the impact of decisions through different stages of engagement. So we have everything from, on the maybe the minimal end of engagement, being informing the community, and it goes all the way up to empowering the community. And we could maybe play with language choices here. But when we're looking at informing, we're looking at saying, we're going to keep you informed as to what's going on. If we make a decision, we'll let you know about it. Right? Not the best, but sometimes that's where these projects sit. We have consulting, where we're getting feedback on decisions that we want to make. We're not necessarily inviting anything else, though. We're looking for them to react to something, and we'll use that reaction somehow. It's a little better, but not great still. When we get to involving, we're working directly with the public throughout the process. And then when we move to collaborating and empowering, that's where we see community members actually elevated into decision-making processes. They're not just giving feedback. They're not just along for the ride, but they're actually influencing maybe the way that funding is spent, the way that a site selection process is happening. Maybe they're even going out and recruiting more community members to participate. So moving to that collaborate and empower end of the spectrum is where we ideally want to see a lot of our projects landing. I was giving this presentation recently and I said, depending on your project, maybe informing is really what you need to do, and it's okay to be there. But the more impacts your project has on people's day-to-day lives, the farther over on that engagement scale we really want to end up. So just big red circle to reemphasize that. Along that scale, we've got some different strategies that we can use. So when we're informing the community, we can always look at things like flyers, videos, press releases. We just need to get information to them. We don't necessarily need to hear back, is kind of how that category sits. Consulting is when we start doing things like surveys, focus groups, listening sessions. We're just hearing from them. We're not necessarily giving anything back yet. We just need their input to start deciding how we are going to make decisions. So there's still kind of a separation of those two groups. When we get to involving, we're looking at things like workshops, service days, volunteering. Folks are coming along to be involved in a project that's already been decided on in a lot of cases. And then when we get to collaborate and empower, that's when we're looking at things like advisory groups, roundtables, co-hosting, ambassadorship, spaces where community members can actually fully participate and influence those decisions through a variety of different outlets. I'll pause here again just to see if folks would add any other strategies to these different stages along the scale, or if there's something that you've seen be successful, especially maybe in more that collaborate or empower end of the spectrum.
Go ahead, Gloria.
Okay, having done this, one of the things that I would advise is watch for those people that come late to the table and then try to take over. And then it becomes very messy.
Yeah.
They weren't there for years, and all of a sudden they show up and they take over.
In your experience, do you have a strategy you've used to balance those people out in a group?
It depends on the audience. I'm specifically talking about one audience and one event that happened, and I don't want to speak on it.
Sure.
I found the best thing for me to do is sort of back up.
Sure. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Susan, I saw your hand come up. Oh, Susan, I believe you're on mute.
I think Ramona's was on first.
Oh, Ramona, your hand has been up for a little bit. Did you have a new addition for this conversation? Oh, I think Ramona put their hand down. So Susan and then Muriel.
Okay, adding on to what Gloria said, the people that step in after they and try to take over. I've been doing this for 8 years, and one of the people that stepped in with me in the beginning proved that she couldn't be trusted. And it's so hard. It's so hard for them to other people to figure out you're just not a drama queen or you're a mean person.
What is happening?
But it's, you know, I can put up with a whole lot of things, but if you can't trust them, you can't work with them.
Sure. Yeah. So that kind of gets back to Muriel's comment earlier about building those baseline values, shared understanding, having some group norms to work with that are shared, no matter who comes and goes in that space. And Muriel, I saw your hand was up again. What do you want to add on?
Yes, Gloria said, you know, she steps back. I would say the group has to reset and not give up. So Gloria, can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by stepping back?
Sure. Everything was, it became a push and pull between the members of the community and then people coming from outside the community, pushing everybody aside because all of a sudden they had all the answers. And that was, 4 or 5 years into what we had been working on. And then all of a sudden came in with a pretty high power group. But the other thing that happened that was very disappointing to me is I had done, my graduate students had done 2 health studies that they used as their own research. They used all my video and didn't, give me any credit for it. And then when I looked at their website, it was horrible. They had a picture of something that didn't represent what we were speaking of. So they just sort of threw things in there and just continued to take our work, and they bundled it up as their work. And, I stepped back. I really got kicked back is what it was. But, it's for the community and the health of that community. So I didn't want to argue with it because they're more important than me.
Thanks for sharing, Gloria. And thanks, Muriel, for asking for that follow-up. I'm going to call on Winnie and then we'll move on a little bit.
Hi, everyone. I would say I agree with a lot of what was said, especially with the trust issue. And one type of people that I would, be wary of, I call them infiltrators. So they are of the community. They've been part of the community for a long time, but for whatever reasons, their values and ideologies are different. And they come in and they sabotage everything. And then so they point the finger at other people who really are trying to do the work. And so then they break down that trust factor and, just try to mess everything up. So I'll be brief.
Yeah, thanks, Winnie, for bringing that component up as well. So obviously, when we do anything that's community-led or community-driven, we're balancing a lot of interests because we know that our communities are not monoliths. We know that just because a lot of people live in a specific area or share a specific identity, it does not mean that they all share the same beliefs and needs and wants for what happens in their community. So I love that y'all are bringing this up because it's such an important piece of the puzzle to understand that when we invite community to participate in these things, we are inviting messiness and usually conflict, and often a lot of discomfort comes along with those. So I appreciate y'all sharing and offering your perspectives on this. We'll circle back to that a little bit later in the presentation as well. I want to make sure that we get to some of the case studies though, because I think y'all are gonna enjoy those. So I also added, maybe this slide is not as, oops, she's jumping ahead, are not as useful, or maybe y'all are already really familiar with these, but I just wanted to take a quick second to talk about language because we throw a lot of terminology around. I see Gloria nodding. I figured just in the couple sentences I've known you for, Gloria, that you would resonate with this as well. But thinking about the language that we choose to use, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about these different buckets of when we talk about engaging communities. So community outreach versus engagement versus organizing versus building versus development. Those are all very different pools of work when we think about it. So I know that this session was about community engagement, and we use the community engagement kind of as a catch-all for a lot of different ways to include and involve community members. And I'm not going to read all of these, but just wanted to put a brief reminder here that when we're talking about engaging with our communities, there's a lot of different verbs we can add on here, and being intentional about what we actually mean by them is really important and sets people up with better expectations along the way. So just a note there to think about what we mean when we say community engagement versus outreach, organizing, etc. Thinking about community though, we're going to switch back over to the Menti. So you could click back on that same link. You could use the QR code again. You could use the code that's in the chat. And I think Dany's going to drop it back in perhaps. And I'm going to switch back over to my Menti presentation. And we're going to move to the next slide, which is going to ask you, you know, who is your target community? And someone brought this up earlier, and I mentioned it again about who's incorporated versus who's impacted. But just kind of thinking through those other definitions as well of outreach, engagement, organizing. Who is the target community that you all work with in your work? How specific can you get when you think about community and who you're hoping to work with? And this is something I ask a lot of groups at the front end of any project, because they'll say we need to engage the community. And I say, do you want to engage everyone in your community? Is the only thing they need to share a zip code or a census tract, or maybe it's in, you know, the 3rd ward or the 4th ward of your city, whatever it is. Or are you interested in talking to homeowners in your community? Are you interested in renters? Are you interested in youth? Are you interested in people whose children go to public schools? Like, how specific are we getting when we think of the goals of our work and who should be incorporated? So just kind of an open-ended question for you to think about. And if you want to drop an answer into the chat or into the Mentimeter. I see we've got some mention of specific neighborhoods. So getting more clear on which specific neighborhoods are maybe being impacted. Underemployed, senior citizens. I'm seeing underserved show up a couple of times. Prioritizing vulnerable communities, young parents, that's very good and specific. We love that. Historically underserved and who have been impacted by flooding. So we've got a couple of things there, right? So it sounds like y'all already have a pretty good idea of this, but it can be really helpful in helping both community members, funders, other folks involved in your projects who we're actually trying to talk to by having a target community. Homeowners, I see, frontline communities. Great. And I'm going to toggle, you can keep that Menti open. We're just going to toggle one more slide over. And this is a multiple choice question where you get to answer. And it says, how engaged is your organization or your group with your target community? And we've got a couple of options. We've got like basically telling me to get out of here because, girl, we are the community. Maybe your group is connected, but you know, you've got some work to do, maybe some trust building work, some relationship building. There's an option there. We're not super well connected at all. We know who we want to be working with, but we don't have relationships with them yet. That's okay. It's okay to admit you don't have a relationship yet. And then there's an option for us not being sure. I'm not sure if we're actually connected to that community yet. So feel free to answer that poll. And once again, this isn't a value call or a judgment call. It's just a way to get thinking about where you're at with your community. It looks like we've got a lot of folks who are saying they're connected, but we know we've got some work to do still in laying some groundwork. I'll leave that open for just another second or two. And if anyone wants to use the chat because you can't access the Mentimeter, once again, that is okay. Yeah, it looks like we are very consistently in the pool of feeling connected, but knowing we've got some work to do. And I think that that's a great place to be. It's always good to know there's some room for improvement. All right, I'm going to toggle back to my slide deck and we'll talk a little bit about River Network's specific approach to community-led research. And then we'll come back together for, oops, that's not what I wanted. Y'all, I'm so sorry. I used to be really good at virtual presentations, and then people started inviting me out in person again, and all my skills got rusty. All right. So why community-led research? Community-led research in the approach that River Network has been using is community-centered and community-driven, which means that we're not just centering the community through this process, but the community is actually deciding that this is the right approach for them. So a lot of the groups that we work with will come to us and say, we'd like to do a community-led research project. And often the first step is saying, who else wants to do it? Is it just you? Or making sure that we have some buy-in, that this is a good investment of time and energy. In community-led research, there usually is an identified problem that we already know we want to tackle. And through an inquiry process, we're going to figure out if there are additional problems that can be tackled alongside the original one. We're going to ask a lot of questions about who should be involved, where specifically we're trying to gather information. We're going to be really specific about how that information is gathered and what we do with it at the end. We're going to use that to develop a really good sense of understanding about real world impacts with, I think someone said earlier, real people, the actual impacted people in the community. And at the end, if we've done our jobs very, very well, we will come out understanding what solutions are equitable to address a set of problems in that community. And there will be community benefits greater than just one or two. Like, we want to see a suite of community benefits come out of this investment in this process. So with all of that being said, we have a number of benefits that we look for and or have seen in community-led research projects. So the first one is that we're collecting and creating vital data for problem solving in a community. A lot of data exists nowadays in the age of the internet and rampant crowdsourcing. Finding data that's relevant to a specific community can be hard. Finding data that can actually help solve problems in a specific neighborhood, right? So we're trying to have some local, vital, relevant data that really tells the story of a specific group of people and what they're experiencing. The outcome, obviously, of that is that we can create equitable solutions that are very applicable in that neighborhood or in that community, however it's been defined. One of the benefits that piggybacks on that companion toolkit I mentioned earlier is that we really build a lot of strength and leadership through this process, because community members are involved in identifying problems, deciding how we're going to collect data, deciding how we're going to analyze that data. Perhaps there's even skill building happening because folks are engaging with a data collection process for the first time. Maybe they're flexing their skills on public speaking, or it could even be something as simple as like literacy or math skills that are being built up through some of these processes and the style of engagement. And of course, we're seeing folks that come out on top and saying, now that we have this data, I really want to see something happen with it. So you see leadership emerge through this process really organically. It provides a great avenue for trust building. And of course, the outcome of these projects is advocacy. We want to create data and stories and narratives so that we can influence decisions. So ideally, we're seeing a lot of really good grassroots advocacy come out on the other side of a community-led research project. The way that we do community-led research kind of falls into three main buckets. So there's person-to-person surveying. So that could be going out and canvassing and door knocking in a neighborhood. It could be, posting up at your farmer's market or a neighborhood corner store and collecting surveys person to person there. But we're having a direct interaction with a person in that instance. Another method that we see used is community mapping. So that's bringing folks together to actually understand, physically in their community, where there are issues, where there are opportunities, where there are resources, but we're creating a physical map and using that as a way to learn about the community and how people are experiencing different impacts. And then there's remote crowdsourcing, which I think we see a lot of in the day and age of the internet, which is having some kind of a platform where folks can on demand submit things that they're seeing. So a lot of times we see this in like city and municipal reporting systems, like report if there's a flood on your street, report if there's a downed tree, let us know if there's garbage somewhere. Like those are remote crowdsourcing where folks can be anywhere and provide a data point through some kind of platform. I'm going to time check myself. Okay. Got a little under 20 minutes. And then the steps of community-led research that River Network uses in our approach is to establish a project team. So once again, if someone approaches us and says, we want to do community-led research, who are you working with? Who else in your community thinks this is a good approach? Let's create a team of folks that want to do this so that it is as grounded in community interest as it can be. Going through and defining the purpose of the project. So what's the main goal we want to understand? Of course, being open to other things along the way as they come up. We're going to learn from the community, so we need to be open to other adjacent issues. Scoping out the project, understanding, is the community already really fatigued? If we open up another round of inquiry with them, are they going to be upset? What other initiatives are already ongoing? Is there an active policy or advocacy campaign in your area that's already dealing with some of this? Like, we got to scope it out. We need to understand the landscape. From there, we can design an effective project where we're going to talk about, do we want to do surveys? Do we want to do mapping? Do we want to do remote crowdsourcing? How long are we going to collect data for? Who's involved in collecting the data? And then, of course, part of that project design is letting folks know how their information is going to be used before they give it to you. That's a really big part of trust building, is making sure that folks have a healthy expectation of the information they're giving you being used for something that will benefit them. One thing we learned a lot in doing research around community-led research was about extraction and the history that, I remember the acronym, community-based participatory research, or CBPR, historically was the term used for a lot of this. And oftentimes it was extractive. People were involved in data collection, and then that data was taken away from them and not used in a way that benefited their community. It's violating. It's not a good feeling to be engaged in that process. So we want to make sure folks know how their data is being used and that it's going to come back and benefit them if they invest energy in giving it to you, whatever that data point is. Obviously from there, we're going to have some data. So we actually need to go ahead and analyze it and decide how we're taking action. And when that piece happens, involving as many of those data collection givers as you can is really great, right? If someone tells you that their tap water is contaminated and they let you take samples from their house, they should probably be involved in taking action once you have that big set of data that says this is happening across your community in a more meaningful way. So those are kind of the 6 steps we have laid out. There are a lot of places throughout this process to implement the things y'all have already talked about, like having shared group norms, having shared values that we're working with, deciding how we're going to engage with each other along the way. Those latecomers who might step in, like when you're already analyzing data, making sure they understand the intentionality on the front end of this so that it's not, it doesn't turn into an extractive process. Those kinds of things that y'all brought up, you can maybe envision how they might happen at each stage of this process. And then of course the community engagement part of this. So we have multiple points at where the community is going to make decisions in community-led research. The decision to do it in the first place, right? That question of, are you the only one who wants to do this? Or are there others in your community who support this approach? We want folks involved in designing the research project so that they can give input on the best methods to make sure that we get really good results and that people are not fatigued by this process. Actually implementing and analyzing or implementing the project to collect data. A lot of those folks might be the ones going out and asking their neighbors to participate in the survey, or they might be leading the community mapping, helping to analyze the data, and then of course, actually taking it to action. So we want to see community members involved in every step. Caveat, this can take a long time. Community-led research projects, we used to try and turn them around on a 1-year cycle, which was very silly of us. And now we try to turn them around on a 2-year cycle. And sometimes we get through the end of the data collection and even analysis, but there's no way that we are getting all the way to data to action and having advocacy campaigns take off in that time frame, right? So one thing that we've had to learn and understand is that it's not always realistic that a community member is going to stick around for the whole process.
Did you send me that other thing?
Oh, that's all right, Valerie. But for a community member to stick around for the whole process is not always realistic. Folks get burnt out, folks get fatigued, their lives change. It's great to have someone be there for the whole thing. But realistically, knowing that community members are going to come and go during this process is just part of doing the work. And that's something that we had to learn along the way. So I'm going to pause there just for a second, and then I want to talk about our case studies. So I would give it maybe if someone has like a 2 or 3 minute comment or a question that they want to ask, and then I want to talk about the case studies for the last 10 minutes of our time together. And you don't have to. I just wanted to pause in case anything did come up. I haven't looked at the chat in a second either.
Ramona does have a question in the chat. And that's, does River Network have CBA examples?
Community benefit agreement examples. Is that what we're referring to?
I am not sure. Ramona, if you...
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually something we're working on building up a bit of a library for right now. We've had a lot of folks asking about those, and one of the pieces that's not specifically in this work, but is adjacent to it, is River Networks working on producing an equitable development toolkit right now through our Urban Waters Learning Network program. And that, I believe, is going to dig into things like community benefit agreements and other like legal documentation around development in communities. So we're working on building up a library, and I do believe it's going to be a large part of the Equitable Development Toolkit, which is in its first round of review. So that, I believe, is being published this calendar year yet. So not right now, but it's something we're working on, and I would love for you to follow up with me on that so that I can make sure you have that information as soon as we have it.
I would definitely, and also would like to follow up with you, Hannah, on an Army Corps of Engineers in challenge that we are facing around the Pearl River and Lake Plan.
Okay.
DEIS. So maybe we can have some conversation after today.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've actually given this training to a division of the Army Corps of Engineers before. So they have a little bit of an idea of what's going on, but would love to, Ramona. I will make sure that you have my email address here before we get out of the meeting.
Wonderful.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to talk about the case studies, and then we will have a little bit of time for some resource sharing at the end. So the first case study, I guess for context, so River Network published these toolkits. Ever since we published the toolkits, we have been applying them through technical assistance and re-grant programs. So we choose a certain amount of organizations every year based on how much funding we have. We're able to pass through some of our foundation funding from the Kresge Foundation or Patagonia Foundation to fund projects. And then we provide our staff time as some oversight consulting assistance. It's very open-ended based on what organizations decide they need. So we've worked through a number of these projects over the last 4 years around the country. So these are just 3 that are related a bit more to green stormwater infrastructure. So I thought they'd be relevant for this group. But this is a project from Avondale, Pennsylvania with the White Clay Watershed Association. And what they were experiencing, as you can see in these photos, there was an apartment building in a neighborhood that was consistently flooding and people were being displaced frequently. And those people were having to find short-term housing, often outside of the community because there weren't a lot of options for them to stay in Avondale and still have housing. So they were often having to leave the community entirely and then come back to this building that would flood again. And there was just this constant cycle of displacement and displacement and displacement. So they brought together a team of folks to look at this issue, and obviously other parts of the community were flooding, but this apartment complex specifically was this target area. The initial solution that they were looking at was drafting an upstream green stormwater infrastructure plan. And they wanted community input on what that should look like, and specifically upstream, because obviously that was driving this flood water downstream and into this community. Through their community-led research project, which they believe, they did a community survey, so some door-to-door surveys. They had them in English and Spanish. Folks were going out and having those conversations. That's when they learned that there was this housing availability issue, that even if people wanted to leave this apartment complex or this neighborhood that was flooding, there weren't a lot of alternative options. And specifically that there wasn't a lot of like emergency or short-term housing when this displacement was occurring. Another thing that came up is that there was a really unsafe transportation corridor where children and working people were having to cross this multi-lane highway to get to the part of the community that had schools and jobs available in it. So the housing was separate from the rest of the community's services. And then we were also running into issues where there just wasn't a lot of community like green space for families to gather, for people to enjoy the outdoors, and the relationship with it was tainted because of this flooding anyways. So all these issues came up alongside their initial green stormwater infrastructure plan. And what they've been looking at now are ways for that green stormwater infrastructure plan to actually address the rest of them. So looking at how can we leverage funding and investment in infrastructure to also take care of this transportation corridor, to also address community green space. We know that that might go hand in hand with stormwater infrastructure a little bit. And then also like housing availability. Is there a way for us to provide, access to more housing through a stormwater infrastructure plan? Are there ways for that to be incorporated as well? So really looking at those wraparounds. So that's one example. So they were not necessarily looking at siting. They knew that they had to site it upstream, but they really wanted to know from the community, you know, what other issues can we help tackle at the same time? And also what considerations do we need to make while we're siting this green stormwater infrastructure? A second, ooh, there she goes. A second project that we worked on, and this was in my town in Grand Rapids, Michigan, was a watershed resilience plan with the Lower Grand River Organization of Watersheds. So they were trying to develop a master resilience plan for the entire Lower Grand River, which encompasses over 30 smaller tributaries or sub-watersheds. And they came to the conclusion that each subwatershed should really have its own action plan as part of this resilience initiative, because every subwatershed is very different. This watershed moves through agriculture, urban, industrial. So they were like, we really need a tailored plan for all these different segments. So they wanted to understand all of the different communities and neighborhoods in those subwatersheds and align them around solutions with evidence. And the way that they did that was through some remote crowdsourcing. So they actually set up an online mapping platform where folks could add pins to a map. It was called Social Pinpoint, great program. Folks added pins to the map to tell them where they were seeing pollution, where they were seeing maybe flooding, where they weren't seeing stormwater infrastructure. Folks could add in places that they liked. So maybe they just had a park that they liked nearby. So it was both positive and negative feedback to just build an understanding of the different assets around the watersheds and or where issues were happening. Some of the other benefits that came alongside this data collection was being able to promote buy-in of local stewardship. So the folks who were putting pins on the map were more likely to engage in action. So we were kind of creating a base of supporters for the actual action steps when they came out, and being able to elevate them as local leaders. But we were also finding ways to involve the various municipalities along this stretch of the Lower Grand River as well, in their MS4 permitting processes and their community engagement plans. So the outcome of this project was the development of the resilience plan for the whole watershed, and then those individual sub-watershed action plans that residents could use to improve the quality of their water. Gloria, I see you have a hand up.
Pensacola is using this right now.
Oh, very cool. Social Pinpoint?
Yes.
Nice.
There's a couple of issues with it though. And I mean, it's a grand thing, but then we're forgetting again, our audience is really big, and there's people who don't have internet, don't understand internet, and don't want to, you know, it's just not their gig. And they're elders who have a lot to bring to the table of seeing the history that is happening in my city. And then the other part of that is the city just does what it wants. Just, you know,
yeah, whether or not it actually influences the decisions the city's making is the open-ended piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people go, well, okay, I'll play, but I know it's not going to happen. You know,
Sure.
we just did, the city of Pensacola just spent $100,000 on a study. And the study said, stop building next to the water.
Sure.
What are they doing? They're breaking ground to build next to the water. So, but they're going to spend another $350,000 on this study to be specific about it. But they're just ignoring it. And can you see the steam coming out of my ears?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's, I mean, I'm really glad that you bring that up, and I'll talk about maybe a little bit in this last case study as well, how that comes up. But yeah, this concept of getting information from the community, not actually using it. So that's another thing that obviously we all know deteriorates trust, fatigues community members. So community-led research is often, in our experience, being done by non-governmental organizations who are doing the advocacy, I don't want to say on behalf of, because we want community members to come along for that ride too, but are a bit more better resource to make those challenges when they need to be made. So I'm really glad you brought that up. And our last case study here is out from California, Regeneración Pajaro Valley. So they have, once again, a group of key players that have come together to understand an issue. They have tons of flooding issues. We can talk about flooding over and over and over again. Unique situation here is that there's already a climate resilience grant that's been designated. So there's money to be spent. And this community-led research project is trying to understand how that funding needs to be appropriately allocated by talking to community members about the experiences they're having with flooding around their community. So they are trying to do some community mapping efforts and trying to gather data about where specifically in the community this funding would be best leveraged. Trying to create, once again, that local data set so that this funding gets out in the right way. And of course, by doing that, reducing future flood risk and threats of displacement. So this is a project that's very much in process. It's one of our newer ones out of the 3 I just talked about. So we're hopeful about the outcomes, but this is kind of a flip side where we've already got some funding in place and we actually just need to figure out how to allocate it well. So with that being said, those are my 3 little case studies that I wanted to share. We're going to skip the Menti exercise in the interest of time. River Network has some really lovely story maps where we talk about other organizations we've worked with and ways that they've used community-led research. So I'll pop those links in the chat shortly. But I had a couple of resources I wanted to name, and Dany's going to pop links in the chat as I go here in these last couple minutes. The first one is our state policy hub. We have a space where we track statewide policies on different issues, access, affordability, lead, PFAS, Clean Water Act, environmental justice. And we do state policy showcases. So we'll invite folks from those states to talk about how they've gotten these policies passed in ways that they're being effective in their communities. And very soon, like in the next couple of months, not even, we are publishing our state policy hub feature on green stormwater infrastructure being funded with public dollars. So very relevant. It's coming down the pipeline very, very fast. And I wanted to make sure that y'all knew that, so you knew a place to go to find good examples. If you want to do policy work or advocate for specific policies, a lot of the times what's happening in these state policy hubs is that in the state policy hub is that we can look at sample legislation and take good lessons learned out of it and apply it to other states. Another one that we have is our tapping into federal funding hub. We list current federal funding opportunities, all of their related webinars, support sessions, technical assistance. We try and just put it all in one place for you. And we also have a YouTube playlist on that page that's about federal funding learning sessions. So it'll talk about different agency funding sources and how you can access them. So it's just kind of a one-stop shop if you're like, wow, there's all this money coming out of the federal government. My organization and my city aren't using it, and we want to know how. Good one-stop shop to find some of that info. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, and then I'll share the toolkit links and we'll wrap up here, is this lovely training that River Network had no part in producing, but I've attended it and I thought it was phenomenal. It's called Infrastructure Next. It's a partnership of the Willamette Center and the Center for Sustainable Infrastructure. There's a pre-recorded version of it online, and then you can also request that that training be brought to your community or your coalition. It is the epitome of like multi-solution investments. So basically, if we want to do green stormwater infrastructure and we also have housing and transit and education and healthcare issues, how do we wrap them into singular projects and leverage funding for large impact? It's an incredible training. I took it over the course of 2 days and learned so much, and I've been applying it for the last 4 years abundantly. So I just wanted to drop those for you all. The next steps, like I said, I'm going to share those toolkit links in just a second. We encourage you to start conversations about community-led research and reach out to River Network if you're interested in doing it. And the reason why is that we're funded to continue doing that technical assistance work that I mentioned before. And we also have some grant money available now, and we'll have more grant money available in about September when we have a grant renewal come through to fund community groups doing this work. So if you have something already in mind, if this presentation sparked a thought that you would like to do a community-led research project, we have funding available right now, and we will have more in September. So we'd love to hear from you and, figure out if it's a good fit and if we're the right folks to be supporting you. And yeah, offer technical assistance and staff time as much as we can. So if there's interest, please reach out. I'm going to pop my email into the chat. And I'm going to grab those toolkit links. And I know that we're over occupied 2 minutes, so I don't want to force anyone to stay. But if there are any quick questions I can answer in the next 2 or 3 minutes, please feel free to ask.
I will also share the link to sign up to River Network's River Voices newsletter. You can stay up to date on all River Network happenings. They're a great partner, and yeah, we've been very grateful to work with them.